Myself. I'm really humbled to be here together with really distinguished panels and share some experience. In fact, Ambassador Ashok Sajar spoke a lot about what I was going to say and link it up. So it's fantastic. I think that sets a great scene. First, I want to start by really congratulating Dr. Puran Pandey and the Swedish Institute and the other organizers who have been part of this group. It's a great initiative, and the whole concept of circular economy is quite innovative. And it's really also very fascinating. I've been a couple of times in Swedish Institute in Stockholm. We have had a lot of conversation. Sweden has been a very generous country in terms of its engagement with the United Nations system, and it very strongly believes in multilateralism and etc. The reference which was made. So it's a delight to be part of those probably similar-minded groups and to have this conversation. Maybe just a little bit in terms of introduction to the World Food Program. The United Nations World Food Program, its motto is to eliminate hunger globally. We operate in about 85 or so countries. There are close to 100 million people benefiting every day with support from the World Food Program. Of course, it's being assisted by member states and the generosity of many countries, as well as private sector. So I will come to that, why it's so important also to have the conversation and engagement of private sector. And in India, we are now this year celebrating 50 years of cooperation. But over the years, we have shifted our program focus from direct food inputs to more of catalytic synergy and best practices and technical support, etc., and in number of areas. Indeed, many countries, still face some of the challenges in terms of hunger. Sadly, last year's statistics on global hunger is more than previous year. So that is a challenge for humanity. There was a lot of discussion about Sustainable Development Goal, those 17 goals, as was just mentioned. Indeed, they are very much interlinked, and we in the World Food Program narrowing down to focus on issue of hunger, the Sustainable Development Goal 2. But that goal is, of course, interrelated to, unless you address poverty, you cannot address hunger. And to broadly address issue of poverty and other, you need to work on health, education, climate change, peace, the governance issue, rule of law. These are all interrelated, and decent jobs and etc. So they are very much. The good thing about the Sustainable Development Goal is it's not UN goals. It is member states who have said, we adopt these goals and we are committed to making a difference. I just come from a meeting with Honorable State Minister of Foreign Affairs, and we were having a conversation, and it was so enlightening to hear from him is they want to target to achieve the Sustainable Development Goal, at least in the area we're working on, few years before the target even. That is very enlightening. And also to see in the context of India, the investment into various areas and to achieve that goal. So, 800 million people are on public distribution system. I mean, where on earth you see that number? There are 115 or 16 million children getting a day meal every day. These numbers are mind-boggling, and coming from different countries where I have worked last over 30 years, and then you go to one state, maybe few countries just fit into that. So I think the challenge is different magnitude and different issues. Now, in the context of hunger issues, the discussion we are having really fits very well the element of circular economy issues. To address global hunger, the element of access. Everybody has an access to support from different sources, increasing productivity, and also the issue of losses, preventing losses. Just to give you any statistics, 30% of what is produced globally is lost these days. Imagine the amount of energy it takes, the cost it takes and to produce it, and then it is wasted or lost in different ways. So working towards reducing that is fundamental. And also looking at being responsible in terms of consumption and not wasting. I know there are different standards in terms of, I've heard stories like, some of the countries cannot export to Europe or to some other countries because the shape of tomato is different, or etc., or potatoes are different. So there are so much precision in terms of market demand and supplies and etc. The challenge the earlier speaker spoke about, in Delhi, for example, we are breathing this last few days. Why should that be, correct? And with the science and technology and all these efforts being made, there should be an element of solution to that. And a lot of being talked about is farmers burning rice husk and etc. I'm not too long in this country, but I've begun my education in Punjab at the heart of that Punjab Agriculture University. So I have understood the element of agriculture. Being there for 5 years, visited many districts. They are one of the most progressive farmers, innovative. The Green Revolution in India was brought through that engagement, and now the shift from wheat and other things to rice and flooding of water, and of course there are factors like free electricity and free water, and then when you don't have to bear the cost, then you don't pay attention too much into these also. So. But given the talent and that, probably there is a way forward to the solution. And I was recently in a conversation about business, responsible business, and SDG. We're talking about that. Same here. Good business must always be sustainable, and there is a lot money to make in working in these areas, but it should not be at the cost of others or the future. And that's what the Swedish champion Greta, is talking about Friday strikes and all that, saving the future generation. I think it's correct. So being responsible, finding a way to use it. But I also remember, growing up in Asia, Nepal, or spending time in India, there was always element of recycling use. We collected and sold, took few Coca bottles, and we got a free Coke or a beer bottle, and etc. So it's not new in that broad sense. But then more commercialization happened, and then we forgot about those. Maybe there are some sector of population is still doing. I remember Philippines has now started a rice for plastics. 1 kilo of plastic collection and 1 kilo of rice. So these are all resource. As somebody said here, it's not a waste, it's a resource. I used to work in Indonesia, in slum of Indonesia, and I've seen the slums there. It's the generation move on in Indonesia in some of these areas, sorting out plastics and iron or whatever, and that's their livelihood. So therefore, the other thing is, I think what probably an element is a key in this process. Isn't it Sweden now going into zero carbon neutral, and you're using everything, recycling and etc. It's doable. It's possible. I think an element of right policies, probably reinforcement of that policies, and a financial incentive. The point I referred about the farmers in Punjab is because they want to make money. I mean, they are marginal farmers. Their lands have been cut down into different sizes, so they are looking for how to. These days, small farmer to be a small farmer is tough life. Frankly, you have to work very hard, and you just make your ends meet. And they go for a cheap way, and they don't care about the consequence of that. If we were to able to find a good solution, an innovative technology, and ensuring that incentive in terms of financial, other, there could be a solution to these problem, definitely. So going back a little bit on the SDG point and zero hunger, where we are focused on, and simple approach, like it's I think the commitment is fundamental first, and then the second is the element of resource allocation, and also the engagement of the private sectors in different forms. It is doable in all different angles, but also sometimes the greed of the business making more profit. I've heard stories about pharmaceuticals, for example. When you put a very high price, only a small number will be able to access it. But if you lower the price, many will accept it, and it becomes more profitable as well. And it's been proven in areas of HIV and AIDS. I just come from Southern Africa region, where there's a huge amount of HIV and etc. So in different forms of maybe circular economy. I mean, it could be interpreted in consuming, making it cheaper or accessible, and the element of institutional capacity building. The reference was made about some of the challenges in global competition and etc. But the state regulations sometimes, which helps to address that, an element of tax. I mean, like Singapore, look at it, how difficult to buy a car there. So they keep it controlled, and but in other places, half of the petrol maybe comes in the year without, thanks to God, some of these tuk-tuks were stopped in Delhi, which I used to experience my student time. And also the coal thermal plants. Imagine if we used to have those additional now, in addition to what we have now. So lastly, what I want to say is this is a wonderful initiative in terms of looking at circular economy or preventing waste and etc. It's applicable in all contexts, and also what is crucial is business have a very important role to play in this, and business goes for profit, and there is a good profit making, but there are elements of incentive in terms of loan or funds. Those factors play a important role. But in the broader context of the United Nations system and World Food Program, we are very much committed in every country in the world. And in fact, that's core part of our teamwork as a UN, in all aspects of the Sustainable Development Goal, to work with government, to work with business, to work with civil societies and intellectuals like here and academics, and see how do we promote that, bring innovation. India is being challenged by very high level of stunting, malnutrition issues. Why should that be the case? And with so much plenty of food stock available in the country, and green revolution and etc. So that's a challenge for us to, although simple, to challenge, because unless we address malnutrition, it affects future generation. It means money. It's economy for the future. So I guess because of all these elements, India is investing so much in various programs. But of course, malnutrition is a factor of health, factor of access to food, water sanitation, etc. So working in together from different angle is key for the success. And the discussion and innovation and good exchange of ideas can contribute positively to the changes. So thank you very much for this opportunity to share a few thoughts, and wishing a great continued deliberation, and hope to catch up individually with various audience as well as the distinguished speakers here. Thank you very much.